All right. Once again, here we are. We are talking about being purpose-driven today. Purpose-driven. And I was saying that would solve so many people's lives. Not their lives, their problems. It would solve so many people's problems. Excuse me while I finish my vitamin. These things are the best. If you all don't have any vitamins, or if your vitamins suck, go to my page. There is a link for these vitamins. It's Nautica Sea Moss, 92 vitamins and minerals, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Sea moss is really, really good for you. All right, purpose-driven. That's what we're talking about today. So I lived most of my life not being purpose-driven, right? And so what does that mean? Because there's a huge difference, right? There's a huge difference in the life I used to live and the life I live now. And I want that for you all. I want that for you all because I know what the difference is. The difference is everything. Being purpose-driven is everything. And what often happens is that it starts early on. It starts early on because when we're younger, when we're children, we have an inclination, we have a vision, we have a feeling, we have a connection. I think that's the best word. We have a connection with what we are authentically aligned with, right? It's our natural talents, gifts, abilities, and interests. And when we can tap into that, when we have smart parents, right? When our parents are in tuned and make us the priority, when they're in tuned with what they see in us and they make us the priority, then they can help us hone in on our gifts, abilities, talents, and interests, right? And then we can grow up and be purpose-driven. So who do you know now that's purpose-driven? Pretty much any celebrity, right? They were purpose-driven. They focused on their purpose. They focused on their dream. They focused on their talent, ability, skill, or interest, right? Usually from a very young age, right? Usually from a very young age. And that's why they have become so successful. But it doesn't mean that the rest of us can't become purpose-driven or successful. We just have a late start, right? But never, ever, ever, ever think it's too late, because it's not. It's never, ever too late, right? And part of that might be your purpose, to get started later in life, right? To get started later in life. Because the people who start earlier are one group of people. And they have their own path and their own purpose and all of that. And the people who get started later in life and achieve success later in life are a different group of people. But we're both just as valuable, right? We all have value. We just awaken to that value at different periods in our life, right? But that does not negate your value. That does not negate your purpose, your power, your authenticity, your the work that you're supposed to do, right? So it's very important that you keep that in mind. You must know that. You must know that. Doesn't matter if you haven't gotten started yet. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I want to shout out to King Tone. It's I think King Tone R-E-H-R-H-E. King Tone R-H-E. But anyway, the one where you guys see oh man, I'll put his tag in the bio there. This is a Real Hustlers shirt that he made for me. This is his brand. If y'all are feeling that, he gave me pink because I'm girly. I like that. But it's a predominantly male brand, but they have a female leg to their brand, right? So I want to shout out this company. This is a dope company. You guys, if you want some new fresh gear, go check them out, okay? So they are being purpose driven. Look at that. Look at that. Look how that just kind of segued in so nicely. They are purpose driven, right? They thought to themselves, what is my talent, skill, ability, and interest, Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. I'm giving you the formula already. I'm giving you the formula already. You need a formula to life, okay? You need a formula to life. Yes, you need a formula. You need a formula, you need a dream, $1 and a dream and a formula. Right? What's your formula? Do you know your formula? You ever think about that? What's my formula to life? How am I doing life? Am I just haphazardly doing life? Am I haphazardly letting people into my life, into my energy, into my circle? Are they disrupting my vision, my life, my energy? This is my meal replacement protein drink. Matrix. I'm on a mission to lose 35 pounds, y'all. Because we should stay healthy. That's why, right? All right, so being purpose-driven. That's purpose-driven. Look, this is purpose-driven. This is purpose-driven. My purpose is to increase my health, to be consistent with my health. My purpose is health and weight loss. I was in the gym yesterday. I think y'all saw that picture, right? I was in the gym, and then I went to dance class after that. And today I'll practice the piano because I'm being purpose-driven with that. There's a purpose. I want to play the piano in the future for a purpose. I write books for a purpose, right? I'm doing these videos for a purpose, right? What's the purpose? The purpose of these videos is really to help people heal their life, to talk about topics to help people come back into themselves, right? To have access to a mental health therapist, to someone who's had to live through the process that she teaches, someone who has written books on the process that she teaches, and really just help heal people, right? Help people get guidance, help people gain wisdom. Because there's a lot of noise on the internet, right? And everybody thinks they're, super helpful and stuff like that. And, many people are. Many people are. But there's a lot of noise out there too, right? So there aren't as many people with credentials. Credentials do matter, right? Not having credentials is okay too, right? Like, no shade. But when you get wisdom from someone with credentials, oftentimes they know a little bit more of what they're talking about from a scientific perspective or from another grounded place. We'll just say place. So be careful who you listen to, right? You want to make sure that they're in alignment with you, right? And by no means do I mean that people with credentials always know what they're talking about, because there's many people who don't. But today I want to talk about being purpose-driven. That's important, more important than anything, being purpose-driven. So I want to read this. I wrote the superpower of identifying your life's purpose. It's important for us to identify our life's purpose. First and foremost, there's a lot of confusion around life purpose. And let me make it very simple and clear for you. Your life purpose is to be kind to people, to be kind to humanity, to be productive, and to positively contribute to society. That's your life's purpose. To care for people in the world, be kind to them, right? Doesn't mean don't be smart and don't be safe, but it just means to be kind. There are a lot of unkind people in the world. So when we can root ourselves in our purpose, which is to be kind to humanity, right? The Bible tells us to love our neighbor as ourselves, to be kind to people, right? To be productive. We're not here just to waste away. We're here to contribute positively to humanity, to make a dent, to leave a legacy, to express our talent, gift, ability, and interest into the world. That's our purpose. That's everyone's purpose, our foundational purpose, right? So we can have multiple purposes, but that's our foundational purpose. So ask yourself today, is there an area in my life that I can become more kind to people? Am I rude? Am I too edgy? Am I selfish? Am I egotistical? Am I not as open-minded as I should be? Am I fixed-minded? Do I need to be a little bit more growth-minded? Is there some balance, some balance? Is there some balance that I need in that, right? So it's important to be true to yourself, no doubt, right? Important to be true to yourself, but you want to be true to yourself in a manner that helps you to be true to your purpose in life. Don't just be true to yourself in an arrogant or a sharp way toward others, right? Because our karma is based on how we treat humanity. It's very important, right? So the superpower of identifying your life's purpose. Here we go. The purpose of human life is to serve. That's contribution. And to show compassion. That's kindness, right? Kindness and compassion. They're similar, not the same, but. And the will to help others. Yeah, that's love your neighbor as yourself. I love that. Albert Schweitzer, maybe. All right, this is chapter 4. Let's just get right to the point of life. The real meaning of life does not start until we find our purpose. Anything we do prior to finding our purpose is an attempt to construct our lives without realizing that as smart as we think we are, we usually get this part wrong. The topic of finding our purpose often confuses people because they feel like they have to find one thing in life that they were called to do. It's framed as finding a needle in a haystack. My aim is to introduce you to a new approach. So that was my intro into the chapter, but I want to skip ahead a little bit and go to page 62 and maximize your superpowers. You can get a copy of this on Amazon or my website. You want to invest in wisdom, right? You want to put new knowledge, even if it's not my book, but you should get this book too, because this is very straight to the point about how to maximize your superpowers in life, right? So when you think about maximizing your superpowers, you think about aligning yourself properly, and you want to start aligning yourself with new wisdom, because you have gotten to this point where you are in life based on the wisdom that's already in your mind. And maybe you don't have any wisdom and knowledge, right? Maybe you have basic wisdom or knowledge. Maybe you have just wisdom and knowledge from the streets, or from an old way of doing things, or just whatever has been going on in your life prior to today, right? That's where it's gotten you. Where you are right now is where your previous knowledge and wisdom has gotten you. And so we never want to stay here because we are evolutionary folks, right? We evolve, but we can't evolve in a vacuum. We must input new wisdom and knowledge, right? The actions that you take, the decisions that you make, where do they come from? You know, from what basis do you make decisions? You make decisions based off the wisdom and knowledge that you have. And also oftentimes from how your nervous system responds, right? So this is very important, but that's a little bit more advanced. I don't want to talk about the nervous system today. But keep in mind, your nervous system has been programmed by past knowledge, wisdom, and experiences, right? And oftentimes it's negative. So you want to put new information, new wisdom, and you start doing that with personal growth and development books like Maximize Your Superpowers. Or else you're just going to keep repeating history, okay? All right, so your life's purpose. You may have a latent calling in your spirit that has been overshadowed by life's demands. Child. You can tell I was the author of this book because that's me. I had a latent calling. At 10 years old, I knew I was supposed to be a therapist, but it got overshadowed by my life's demands. which was I grew up in foster care. I became homeless. I went back into foster care. I became homeless again for the second time. And I ended up joining the military, which completely took me off track. And all of my life's experiences, the trauma and all of that, took me off course from becoming a therapist. Like, I lost connection with that inner voice, right? Because of the overshadowing of life's demands. I needed to survive. Many people cannot get connected with their voice because they're in survival mode. That's something good right there. Because when we're in survival mode, we cannot thrive. We need to thrive to get into creation and not survival, right? Survival is a basic human instinctual way of living, right? Surviving. So it says here, when you were younger, did you feel you were called to do something specific, like writing? I was, but I learned later that writing wasn't my actual calling. It was just an avenue of expression from my spirit. It was one way in which I could help more people, but that is my personal story. If you are called to write, your life's purpose very well may be for you to be a prolific writer. So I really want to encourage you to listen to your inner voice, to really gain the wisdom right now, okay? Gain the wisdom right now that you are where you are in life, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all the lees, right? You are where you are in life based on the current and past wisdom and knowledge that you have received. And if you haven't received any wisdom, then your life probably reflects that. And whatever knowledge you've gained over the years, it has now reflected in the culmination of where you are, right? So take a look at your life. Take a look at your life and ask yourself, where am I? And is this where I want to be in life? Am I happy? Is this a representation of the life I actually want to live? Yes, throw me some hearts. Hey y'all, let's get into it. Hi y'all. I wish I could bring y'all on. Like, I like how Instagram, you could bring people on and talk to them. I wish Facebook did it. Don't Facebook own Instagram? They should have that option here too. I am manifesting me a radio and a TV show. I am manifesting me a radio and a TV show because I want to talk to the people. I want to like interact with y'all. And I miss that. I get that in my therapy clients, but not so much here. And I miss that. So we want to bring in more wisdom and knowledge, okay? More wisdom and knowledge. Let that be your guiding principle for today. I must bring in more wisdom and knowledge into my mind. Purposefully. You want to be purpose driven, okay? So start with maximize your superpowers. We talk in here, I'm just going to kind of tell you what we talk about. Superpowers, what are they? Superpowers inherent in your awareness. Numero uno, okay? If you don't have an awareness of something, you don't have an awareness of it. Right? That's the PhD level of that. If you don't have an awareness of something, you don't have an awareness, right? So you got to increase your awareness, right? That means take the blinders off. That means become growth minded. That means get out of this fixed mindset that you think you know everything, or that you're hiding from things. Man, there's somebody right now that is hiding. They are hiding because they've been through so much pain in their life. They've been through so much pain and so much abuse. And so they don't interact with the world the way, in a healthy manner, right? And so they withdraw, and they're hurt, and they're scared, right? But it comes out as I don't care about you. right? How many of y'all understand what I'm saying? There's somebody in your life that is not connecting with you. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, yo no sé quién, but it's somebody. It's somebody in your life, they're not connecting. And you're feeling like it's a personal thing, and it's not. That person, based on their knowledge and wisdom in this moment, which was based on all of their past life experience, which for this person happens to be abuse, abandonment, manipulation, narcissism, physical violence, things of that nature. And because they haven't processed that, right? How many of us are carrying the pain in our heart from yesteryear, and we haven't processed it, but we just kind of hide from it, right? We push it away. We don't want to deal with it because it's painful. But I'm telling you, you got to pull that root up, because that root inside of you is poisonous, and it's infiltrating your thoughts. It's infiltrating your growth. It's infiltrating your life. And so you've created this life of, they have created this life of fear-based, being fear-driven. So they're not purpose-driven, they're being fear-driven. And when you're fear-driven, you hide. You hide because your life has taught you that I can't trust people. And people that look like the person who abused, abandoned me, manipulated me, was narcissistic toward me, people that look like that person. People who look like that person. People who look like that person. Maybe the person, the new person in their life has the same hair color as that old person, right? The person who was abusive to them. Maybe a person now in their life is the same gender as the person that hurt them, right? So whatever the quality is that the person sees in you or in someone else that resembles, maybe it's a tone of voice, maybe it's anything, could be anything, because the mind gets triggered very quickly. And so it's anything in that person that then triggers the individual to remember the pain that they experienced in life. So they put up a barricade. They put up an imaginary barricade, and they live, they're withdrawn. They're not purpose-driven, they're fear-driven. They're trying to survive. Remember, our most basic fundamental mode of life is survival. We can't do anything until we move past this level of hierarchy of needs, this level of needing to fulfill these needs, right? These survival needs. Do I have shelter? Do I have water? Do I have food? Do I have basic physiological needs met, right? And once I have these needs met, once I can feel that these needs, these basic physiological needs, go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs to review the level of needs. And this is going to show you the progression that you make in life. Once you get those needs met, you can move on to safety, right? Safety. You need to feel safe. So if we are still living in our trauma and our history, then we're not feeling safe because we're still coming from the program. We can't get into purpose driven because we're still living in the program of, do I feel safe or not? And if I don't feel safe, it's because I am ruminating, I am programmed based on my past experiences. I haven't processed them. I haven't released that trauma, that abuse, that fear, whatever it was in my past. It could have been last week, it could have been when I was a child, it could have been the relationship I live in right now. You know, maybe I don't feel safe. Maybe I'm in a domestic violent relationship and I don't feel safe. Maybe my parents are abusive and they're screaming and yelling and throwing things and slamming doors and cursing and calling people names and manipulating the children in the house, right? I don't feel safe. So how can someone become purpose-driven if they don't have these two fundamental levels of needs being met? And so I want you to think about that for yourself too. Okay, what level of needs have you fulfilled, and what level of needs have you not? So I definitely want to recommend go to Maslow's hierarchy needs and check that out and ask yourself, are these level of needs met yet? Because when you come upon the level that has not been met yet, then you understand where you're mentally stuck. Man, that's good stuff. That's $250 an hour. Thank you. I just saved y'all $250 an hour. All right, so very important, okay? Figure out what level of need you're stuck at. Because once you can satisfy the level of safety, then I think the next one's love and belongingness. And once you can't, because you can't feel loved and belonging, like you belong in a group, if you don't feel safe, right? So that was part of my story growing up. I grew up in foster care. I had some of my physiological needs met, like shelter and food and stuff like that, but I didn't feel safe because I was being physically abused, right? Or I was living in homes of strangers. I didn't feel safe. In one of my homes, my foster sister attempted to kill me when I was like 8 years old. And she put a pillow over my face and she was suffocating me. And so I grew up with claustrophobia. I don't like nothing near my face like that. Or like, you know how you be held down, sometimes you playing with your boo and like you're tussling and stuff like that. Don't hold me down, don't do none of that. Because I'm about to pop off on your ass. But that's trigger, right? So some things from childhood never fully get processed. We just have to learn how to manage it, right? Manage it. So, superpowers, right? What are your superpowers? So, superpower inherent in your awareness, gain awareness. Clarity. There's a superpower of clarity. There's a superpower of identifying your life's purpose. That's where I was reading from today. There's a superpower in giving yourself permission, right? This idea that we have to give ourselves permission frustrates me, right? So what I've learned over the years as I've moved from living in survival, having my spiritual awakening, and then shifting into deliberate creation. And that's why I created Deliberate Creators Coaching, because I understand now my own life. And it reflects the life of many people in the sense that many people are in survival. And many people have not had their spiritual awakening to who they are. What is their talent, skill, ability, and gift, right? And many people have not shifted into creation. You got to move into creation to become a deliberate creator. If you're still trying to survive, you can't be a creator, right? You could create some stuff, but it's not the same pedigree. It's not the same level of creation, right? It's coming from a different energy, right? You don't want to create just from survival. I mean, you do if that's where you are, but you want to grow into having an awakening so that you can really hone in your vision, right? It's all about the vision. If you get a vision from survival, then your vision is survival based. And that's fine for starting, right? We just want to start. Just start. Wherever you are, just start becoming purpose driven, right? If you're being purpose driven from survival, hey, that's a very good purpose, right? I need to survive. I got to create something so I can survive, right? So that speaks to survival. That speaks to evolutionarily surviving, right? But you want to get from here at some point to here, which is now I'm creating from not survival, but from my talent, from my inner voice, from a healed place in my heart, right? So for instance, both of my books, can you see them over there? Yeah. Ow. Ow. So from foster care to fabulous and imperative movement, there it is. The one with me on the cover, that one was created from my initial place of healing, right? I had healed, and so I created that book from that place of feeling healed. And then the second one, Maximize Your Superpowers, this one was created from a place of abundance, right? I was living in abundance, right? My first one, I think I had just kind of tapped into it. But my second one, I was really living in abundance. I had become a manifester. Things were happening. I was traveling the world. I was getting paid the exact amount of money that I had put on my whiteboard, my dry erase board, and I had put that amount of money up. And I talked to my son the other day, and I was like, do you remember when I put, $10,000 a month, that I wanted to make $10,000 a month? And like within 6 months, I was making $10,000 a month. I had went from $2,000 a month to $10,000 a month. I had tapped into manifesting, right? And so you want to go from survival. That's the difference, right? It's cool to create from survival to get going. But at some point, you want to grow, and you want to heal, and you want to advance, and you want to evolve into the next dimension of your evolution, right? And so that is greatly determined by your spiritual relationship and your creator, your relationship with people around you, right? You want to get low quality people out of your life. You want to start incorporating higher quality people. And it has a tremendous amount to do with the types of books you're reading, right? And also you can get wisdom and knowledge from YouTubes and podcasts. I don't really like podcasts. I like podcasts. I listen to them, but I don't like podcasts in the sense that you should get your knowledge and wisdom from podcasts. Because yes, you can, but the thing is that it's a frivolous way of getting wisdom and knowledge, right? You want to get sturdy wisdom and knowledge. You don't want to get a bunch of people's opinions. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, for me, it's just my opinion. Maybe it works for you. For me, it's not as, what's the right word? It's not as substantive, right? Substance. whatever that word is. Substantive. That word. It's not coming from a place of substance. It's just coming from a place of a lot of opinions, and there's a lot of noise on podcasts, right? So they're entertaining. They do have information, very good information. So at least if you're gonna get your wisdom and knowledge from podcasts, do it. Make sure you're listening to the right podcast. Let me say that. I think that's the delineation that I'm trying to make. Make sure that you're listening to a substantive, there goes that word again, podcast, right? Like Dr. Drew. I love Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew knows his stuff. Ed Milet. I like Ed Milet. I don't know if he has a podcast per se. But the reason I like books, though, books are something you can highlight. Books are something you can see with your eyes, right? When you're hearing it from a podcast, it's a different experience, right? But when you're reading it, it's a different experience. You're absorbing it on a deeper level, right? Because you're focused. It's not just a bunch of noise. You're focused. You're highlighting things that stand out. They speak specifically to you, right? Yeah, it's just my preference. My preference is books. Everybody has their own preference. So I actually just saw something really, man, that was really good. I wish I would have not turned the page, because that was a good, I think this was it. Awakening internally. I want to read this. This just spoke to me to share with y'all. The clearer I became of my mental reality due to this ever increasing awareness. So this is coming from the chapter of Your Superpower, Your Awareness. The better able I was to intuitively know when I was in or out of alignment with that which was best for me. My spirit, I have found, has always been my guide. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust your inner voice? Because it's your guide. This is your internal GPS. And you got to become friends with it, right? Oftentimes we look external to ourselves for people's opinions, their guidance, their wisdom. And I want to advise you not to do that. The guidance you need comes from you and comes from your connection to the universe, to your creator. Everything you need to know about what you should do comes from inside of you. You just need to develop that voice. You need to hone in, trust it, build. Before you trust it, you have to build a relationship with it, right? So you begin to test it out in little ways, right? Little ways. So it's good to seek knowledge from external things, but when it comes to the decisions you need to make in your life, trust your voice. Trust your voice, because your voice knows you, right? Your voice knows you. Everybody else is coming from their own perspective in their own life, from their own experiences. So if you ask me, what should I do with X, Y, and Z? Whatever I tell you, it's going to come from my experiences in life, based on my knowledge, wisdom, awareness, and things of that nature. But it doesn't mean I know what you should do with your life. And oftentimes when we ask people, it confuses us even more. Because the problem is we haven't built a relationship trusting ourselves. You have to trust yourself. All right. So when we have our tricycle wheels, what is that called? Those training wheels on our bike. That's when we ask other people, because we don't really trust ourselves to ride the bike yet of life, right? So we ask other people. We still have our training wheels on. So the more that you learn to trust your own inner voice, the more you take those training wheels off and you're like, you know what? I got this. I can ride this bike called life. I know what I'm doing, right? So you want to go from here to here. That's what that's about. So my spirit, I have found, has always been my guide. I just did not know how to access it in order to benefit from its insight. Insight. Your inner voice has insight because it comes from within, right? Intimacy. Into me, I see. Intimacy. We think we're supposed to have intimacy with other people, but we have to have intimacy with ourselves first. Into me, I see. Intimacy, right? It all starts with inside of you. All right. Because I was so busy looking outside of myself for answers from people who had no idea what was best for me. We just talked about that. For decades, I didn't know to ask, who am I and what am I supposed to be doing with my life? But once I did, it became the gateway to self-knowledge. That's some good stuff. I love this book. And I love that I was just spiritually guided to that paragraph, because I wasn't reading from that chapter earlier. So again, trust your own inner voice. My own inner voice, when I was flipping through the book, saw this paragraph, and all I saw was mental reality. And my inner spirit said, read that paragraph. Just now. That's how it happened. I came across that. I trust my inner voice. I listen to myself. I'm very intuitive, right? Because I've spent years. Part of it is just natural gift that I have. And I think that's what makes me a very good therapist, that I have an intuition that I trust, that I don't come from here all the time. I come from here. And I want that for you all. Learn to trust your inner voice, right? And this paragraph specifically spoke to what we were talking about, being purpose-driven. For decades, I did not know to ask, who am I? And what am I supposed to be doing with my life? But once I did, it became the gateway to self-knowledge. How do you become purpose-driven? You have to have a relationship with your inner voice so that you learn to trust yourself. Right? So that you can begin to ask these more metaphysical questions of who am I and what is my purpose? And once you do, you're going to hear your inner voice start revealing things to you, or you're going to feel it, or you're going to sense it, right? And once you gain that extra wisdom, right? That spiritual guidance, that wisdom, it's coming from inside of you, right? And if you want to go deep with it, the Bible tells us that the Holy Spirit lives within us. Now, if you don't believe that, that's okay. Don't freak out and disconnect. People get very offensive. Don't worry about it. Call it something else, whatever you want to call it, right? But there is a higher intelligence that lives within us. For Christians, they call it the Holy Spirit. For mystics, they call it your intuition, your third eye, your inner yogi, right? Whatever it is, the name doesn't matter. Don't get caught up on words in life, right? A lot of people get caught up in words. And we should be excellent with our words, impeccable, as Don Miguel Ruiz, I think, wrote in his 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your words. We should absolutely aspire to that. Use precise wording, right? But trust that inner voice of yours. Get to know it. And once you do, it will guide you to your talents, abilities, skills, and interests, and how you should use those for a larger purpose to be productive in society and contribute and serve humanity. And that's when you know you are locked in to an amazing, amazing life. You will never have another boring day in your life. You will never have another depressed moment in your life. Maybe that's too big of a ideal. You may have depressed moments, right? We're all human. But you won't live in depression because you're focused on serving humanity. And when you're focused on using your talents, gifts, abilities, and interests for when you use those in a particular manner, like writing a book or whatever case it might be. For my daughter, she created face and body products that help nourish the skin, reduce hyperpigmentation, reduce scarring, and things of that nature. She used her natural talents, abilities, skills, and interests to create products to help people develop better skin, right? To nourish their skin, to reduce the scarring, reduce the hyperpigmentation, and all of these kinds of things. And this is how she's expressing her larger purpose in life. She's helping people with their skin, clearing up eczema and things of that nature. There's so many things that her products help with. And so that's her focus now. She's purpose driven. Now, is her whole purpose to create these products? No. Just like her whole purpose wasn't to be a fashion designer. But these are ways in which she's expressing her natural purpose in life, right? And so we evolve. It's not about one specific way we're expressing our purpose, right? For King Tone, right now, he's got this clothing line, right? But is this his be-all, end-all to his purpose in life? No. This is one way in which he's expressing his purpose through his talents, abilities, skills, and interests. So I want you to get honed in on that. When you can hone in on what are my talents, abilities, skills, and interests? What is my inner voice saying that I should create using those talents, abilities, skills, and interests? How can I use them creating whatever it is that I'm going to create? Because I'm not in survival anymore. I'm in creation. And how can I then serve humanity through that product, right? That's the key to life, man. I just saved y'all like $10,000 in freaking therapy and life coaching. That's it. That's it. Now, how to progress through these stages, that's why you need a coach and a therapist, because it's not as easy as like, oh, I'm just going to go from survival to creation and I'm going to hone in, right? This is like, it don't happen like that. It's some work. It's work, right? It's work. What's up, Michael? It's work. That's the work, right? That's the work. You ever hear these leaders talk about the work? You got to do the work. You got to do the work on yourself. You got to do the work, your spiritual work. You got to do, you know, first of all, having a negative relationship with spirituality causes harm to you, right? So whatever your relationship with spirituality is, you want to either neutralize it or empower yourself with it, right? But don't have a negative relationship with spirituality, right? Many people, based on, you know, their experiences in church and religion and all of that kind of thing, maybe their parents forced them to go to church, and maybe their church was more like a cult and it really wasn't a true church. So based on people's experiences in life, they get really turned off to spirituality. And I'm telling you right now, that's not the move. You don't want to do that, right? Listen, you have to evolve emotionally. You have to figure out a way to heal that emotionally deep inside of you, because you are spirit. You were spirit before you were flesh. So if you abhor spirituality, if you reject your spirit, you can't fully live congruently with yourself, because you reject this idea, this sector of being, this dimension of existence, right? If you reject that dimension of existence of spirituality, you can never become purpose driven, and you will suffer as a human being because you're harboring negative emotions towards spirituality, right? You're not angry at spirituality. Spirituality is not harming you. Spirituality expands you. It opens yourself to you. It awakens you to who you actually are, right? So don't confuse your past relationships with whatever led you to the point to reject spirituality. Don't do that, because that's just like the person I spoke about earlier who is hiding in their own body and in their life. They've barricaded everybody out because they've experienced so much abuse and harm and manipulation and narcissism and physical abuse in their childhood or in their past, that they now in their young adulthood have barricaded, or, you know, however old the person might be, have just shunned out. You know, when you shun everything out, you shun out the good and the bad, right? So that's not an intelligent strategy for life, right? You want to work from intelligence and inner intelligence more so than anything, right? Inner guidance. And that's where your spirit comes in. You got to have a relationship with your inner voice. Your inner voice is part of your spirit. So, in becoming purpose driven, I want to encourage you to reanalyze your relationship with spirituality. You got to define it differently so you can have a different relationship with it. Okay, and use that guidance I'm giving you right now to redefine something so you can have a different relationship with it. Because everything in life has its meaning to us based on the meaning we give it. That's more $10,000 I just saved you. Right? Whatever you're upset with, you've given it a meaning and you have made it an enemy to you. And you don't want to live life with anything being an enemy to you. You want to neutralize that. Doesn't mean you invite it in, but if you don't neutralize your repulsion of it, if you don't neutralize you being repulsed by something, right? It owns you. It owns you emotionally. And if something emotionally owns you emotionally, especially in a negative way, but in any way, if it owns you, if you put it on a pedestal, whether in a good way, you worship it, like I love this person, you know, they're my best friend, they're the love of my life, you know, you put somebody on a pedestal, or whether it's in a negative way, right, that I hate this person, I hate this thing, and, you know, whatever it is, you're giving it too much power. You don't have power over you and your healing and your your alignment with purpose, because you have given your power away to these other things. You know, the Bible tells us, I don't know the exact verse, but basically you cannot have two gods. You cannot worship two gods. You cannot put anything before God. And if you love someone too much, or if you hate something or someone too much, you have put them above God. Because God, you know, the whole point of God is that you don't conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So don't get freaked out about God. I'm talking about God, and talk about God. People go crazy. Don't worry about it. Forget about the meaning you're giving God, right? If you're being appalled right now, just simmer down, right? Forget about, okay, it's not fair for me to say forget. Learn. Here's some wisdom. Learn to have an uncomfortable conversation, whether you agree with the topics being discussed or not. Just learn to have the uncomfortable conversation that you don't agree with. And just listen. Choose to listen, to seek what in that conversation stands out to me that I can learn from, right? Because if you get repulsed and repelled by words, that's a very weak way to exist, right? You want to be a person of power. And a person of power doesn't get repelled and starts spazzing out because someone says a word. God, right? Don't be that person. Analyze. What is the meaning that I'm giving this word, that it has so much power over me, right? This is how you begin to live more purposefully. Take control over you, right? Because oftentimes we give so much power to these external elements, and we start reacting from a place of fear and trauma and memory, right? We're in survival mode. So anytime you find yourself reacting to something, know that you're in survival mode. When you're in creation mode, you're open. I don't have to agree with everything someone says, but I'm a creative. So I'm listening to learn. Is there something here that can creatively inspire me? And when we can learn to have self-control, right? Self-control is strength, James Allen said, right? And as a man thinketh, when we can learn to have self-control, we can become purposeful. All right? So that's my word for you today. I love you guys. I am Dr. Cruz, creator of Deliberate Creators Coaching. We have our next coaching session on Sunday the 11th at 12 o'clock Eastern. And if you want to join, just go to my website. If you need anything, just reach out to me, and I'll see you all Friday. Yeah, Friday. If you have any questions, let me know, okay? I want the best for your life, because life is precious and you got a lot of life to live, okay? I spent my first 40 years in survival, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life in creation. Makes a difference. Huge, huge difference. When I was in survival, I was in domestic violent relationships. Now, my intuition can pick up that, like, from 100 feet away. That person's not good for me. And I won't go down that path. I don't need other people anymore. That's a beautiful place to get to, when you don't need someone to love you. You don't need someone to like you. You don't need someone to be your friend. Yeah, that inner peace is priceless. It's cool. It's cool when you have people love you and like you and friends, but you want the right people. You don't want to live in survival where you're desperate. You want to live from a place of personal power and control. Deliberate creation. Be a deliberate creator in your own life. Okay. All right. Bye, guys. See you later. Friday.